Vous avez déjà entendu parler de Blondie, bien sûr, des légendes de la musique alternative américaine. Ils ont commencé de même, ils sont populaires maintenant. Moi, j'ai bien aimé le dernier album. Cette semaine, ils étaient de passage à Musimax. Il y a un spécial qui s'en vient, notre station sœur. J'ai rencontré Deborah Harry et Chris Stein, des goûts assez spéciaux.
Welcome to the Cimetière des CD, Deborah, Chris.
Bonjour.
Bonjour. You speak French?
No, not at all.
No? Which one will be the first?
I don't know. Who cares? Go ahead.
Deborah, Nino Rota. You're not the first to pick this
Really?
artist. Yeah. Some people like it.
Yeah,
It's beautiful.
What is special about his music?
That it's so haunting and whimsical, and I don't know, just it's very tender, something that's very sort of makes you feel like sort of childish in a way.
But the soundtrack, the Satyricon soundtrack from the movie Satyricon is very kind of brutal also.
Yeah.
At the same time. It's sort of savage and has a lot of primitive overtones.
Yeah, Satyricon is not, it's quite beautiful and extraordinary, but it's not sort of a typical.
Right.
The majority of his work has sort of a very sort of
Like The
wandering
Godfather.
kind of hauntedness to it.
Okay. Chris, you picked Taxi Driver. What's on that soundtrack? I've never...
Oh, Taxi Driver is like, you know, when we would be on tour and I would get nostalgia for New York, I would play the Taxi Driver soundtrack. It's beautiful, and the way the soundtrack is put together. Well, firstly, it's Tom Scott played the horns on Rapture,
Okay.
Coincidentally. You
Okay.
know, I mean, which I was very honored when he came around to do that. But the way the soundtrack is put together, there's some of Travis Bickle, you know, the De Niro character, some of his speaking on the soundtrack. He does these very poetic things that I guess Scorsese wrote. I don't know, who wrote the screenplay, Schrader or Scorsese?
Oh, I think Schrader.
Schrader, maybe
Yeah.
Paul Schrader. And some of his very poetic stuff that, you remember in the movie he recites all these things about, you know, one day a real rain is going to come and wipe the streets clean and all this stuff. And that's all on the soundtrack, and it's nicely put together. It's almost a spoken word, sort of poetic jazz record.
Well, check. Black
it's worth checking out.
Black Orpheus. I've heard the name.
Oh, it's a beautiful movie. It's a Brazilian movie, and it's about the story of Orpheus and Eurydice, and the god of the underworld comes and tries to take Eurydice away from Orpheus, and he tricks him, but the way that they did it in modern, it's a Greek, you know, it's a myth, and the way that they tell the story in Brazil is through carnival. So all the samba music, and all the people are in costume, and the god from the underworld, the devil, he's in costume, and Eurydice is in a beautiful costume, and Orpheus, and they look for each other, and he chases for her, and all the people are around. It's just wonderful the way it's shot. It's an old movie. It's from the 60s. It's in black and white.
The music is very light, though, on top of these very heavy beats.
Yeah.
So it's a good
All these very
combination.
pretty melodies.
Yeah.
And also you picked, Chris, the performance soundtrack.
Well, performance to me is like the ultimate music video. It's,
Really?
Yeah, oh, absolutely. People never saw the movie Performance with Mick Jagger. Mick Jagger's really only decent. He's been in one or two movies, but he sort of plays himself in there. And James Fox and Anita Pallenberg, who was, you know, Brian Jones's girlfriend and Keith Richards' girlfriend. And it's just a brilliant movie, and it never gets dated. It was made in, I think, '67. Nicholas Roeg is the director, and it's just a brilliant, brilliant movie, and it's about gangsters and rock and roll and how they come together in a way, and it always stands up. It amazes me. It never gets dated, never gets old. And the soundtrack is Rolling Stones with Ry Cooder instead of Keith Richards.
Oh.
And as well as electronic music and some experimental stuff. It's a brilliant soundtrack album. It's always been one of my favorite of anything.
Deborah, you like jazz? Duke Ellington?
Duke Ellington is, you know, the Duke. There's nobody like him, and there's this passage or this movement that he wrote. I don't know if it's a suite or what exactly. This was sort of called the Lebanese suite. I'm not sure if that's the right name, but it's so incredibly beautiful. And I mean, all of his music is timeless, just timeless.
Mm-hmm.
Genius.
Okay. And Jimi Hendrix?
Yeah, you know, I don't know. I keep saying it. You know, we do a lot of interviews now. People ask me about modern music, and I always say I don't hear anything now that's as good as even the worst Jimi Hendrix records, maybe like Rainbow Bridge or something,
Yeah.
you know. But, I mean, the best Jimi Hendrix records are still, you know, way trend. You know, Electric Ladyland is, like, incomparable. When you think this guy was doing that, he invented it, you know. He made
Yeah.
this stuff up. There was nobody before him doing that stuff, you know.
He created the groundwork for rap, for disco, for, you know, all of the stuff that we live with, you know, every day. I mean, he actually, I mean, you can hear that. It's right there in his music.
Have you ever met him?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
saw him at Woodstock. I never met him.
You saw, yeah?
Yeah, sure.
How was he?
It was great. It was fantastic.
Yeah? Was it
But
nice?
in the movie Woodstock, the way the movie is cut, you think there are a lot of people there, but it wasn't. It was the end. It was the very last thing on, and there was very few people there. Everybody
Okay.
was leaving.
Thanks a lot for
Okay.
listening. Yeah.
Okay.